In the quiet town of Riverton, where life moved at a comfortable, predictable pace, the Daily Grind Cafe was the pulsing heart of the community. Amidst the clatter of plates and the aroma of brewing coffee, 17-year-old Elena worked diligently. A straight-A student and a part-time waitress, she carried a quiet strength and a family name that held more weight than anyone knew. One ordinary Tuesday, Officer Daniel Foster strode into the cafe. Known for his abrasive demeanor and heavy-handed tactics, Foster exuded an air of entitlement that was as much a part of him as his uniform. He settled into his usual booth by the window, a silent, unsmiling presence. Elena approached, her pad in hand, her voice polite. "Good morning, sir. Can I get you anything?" Foster cut her off sharply. "Just get the coffee right. No sass." Elena calmly nodded. "Of course. Black, 2 sugars." "What? You memorizing orders now?" he sneered. "Don't get cocky." The cafe's hushed chatter faltered. A fork clinked, but no one spoke. Not to Foster. "What's with the attitude?" he pressed. "Didn't your mommy teach you manners?" Elena blinked, a flicker of confusion in her eyes. "I'm sorry, sir," she said gracefully, turning away. She returned moments later with his coffee, setting it down gently. Her calm, dignified silence seemed to irk him more than any defiance could. Without warning, Foster grabbed the water glass beside him and with a deliberate, spiteful motion, poured it down Elena's front. A collective gasp rippled through the cafe. "Maybe that'll cool that attitude," he muttered, leaning back, a smirk on his face. Elena stood frozen, dripping, humiliated. Her hand trembled, but her voice was steady. "Excuse me a moment," she said quietly, retreating to the back room. There, she pulled out her phone and dialed a single number. It rang once. "Uncle Julian, I need you to come down to the Daily Grind. Now." 10 minutes later, the cafe door swung open. Police Chief Julian Vance entered, not in uniform, but his presence commanded immediate attention. His gaze swept the room, landing first on his soaked niece, then on Officer Daniel Foster. "Officer Foster," he said, his voice a chilling calm. "My office now." The cafe watched in stunned silence as Foster, still bewildered, followed his chief. He didn't know yet. He didn't know the girl he had just publicly humiliated was family to the one man in Riverton he couldn't cross. And he had no idea that within the hour, his badge would be gone. Consequences and whispers the air in the Daily Grind remained thick with unspoken tension. Elena, her uniform clinging to her, quietly dabbed at the dampness, her mind replaying the splash, the sneer. This wasn't her first encounter with men like Foster, but it was the first time it had felt so personal. Yet, a peculiar calm settled over her. She knew her silence wasn't weakness. It was a storm gathering. In Chief Vance's back office, Foster sat rigidly, still expecting a lecture. Julian closed the door, his gaze level and unyielding. "Do you enjoy embarrassing young girls in public?" he asked, his voice deceptively soft. Foster, incredulous, claimed he hadn't touched her, that she was rude. "You poured water on her in front of 24 people," Julian countered. "She's 17, a child. She spoke to you with nothing but respect, and you decided that wasn't enough. You think that's how we carry the badge." Foster's confidence visibly wavered. "I didn't know who she was," he muttered. "That's precisely the problem," Julian replied, his voice cold. He then laid out Foster's history of misconduct, detailing years of complaints and suspensions. "I kept you on against my better judgment, but this time it's different. Because she's your niece?" Foster snapped. "No," Julian stated, his expression unchanged. "Because she's a person." He then presented Foster with his resignation papers. "Sign this now. Either hand over your badge quietly, or I open a formal investigation. Either way, by sundown, you won't be wearing a uniform in Riverton again." Meanwhile, Elena found solace in the cafe's kitchen, reflecting on her mother's advice to let it go. But Elena wasn't built for shrinking. She understood that sometimes what needs to change starts with standing firm. Seeds of doubt and echoes of the past. Daniel Foster left the chief's office, his badge gone, his face pale. He began making calls, seeking leverage, determined to bring someone else down. He discovered an old disciplinary log from 2009 detailing an incident where Chief Vance, then a lieutenant, had called off backup during a drug sweep. The report, marked with a note about discretion over procedure, became Foster's new weapon. He didn't need proof, just a narrative of doubt. At Riverton High, Elena felt the subtle backlash. Whispers of cop girl followed her. Teachers expressed concerns about distractions. When her guidance counselor suggested her issues stemmed from being distracted, Elena directly asked, "Would they be concerned if my uncle wasn't the chief of police?" She realized she was focused, just not on keeping people comfortable. Later, Chief Vance confided in Elena about the 2009 incident. He explained how he chose to protect young lives by avoiding a public spectacle that would have ruined them. People like Foster, he explained, they don't care about nuance. They only care about what can be twisted. Elena understood. Even clean hands could be bloodied by rumors. Foster, meanwhile, uploaded the old report to an anonymous tip box on a conservative county newsletter, aiming to erode trust. The next morning, Chief Vance found the headline. 2009 cover-up? Questions arise around police chief's past raid. At school, Elena found a note in her locker. "Your uncle's not as clean as you think. Check the news, princess." Even her best friend, Sarah, distanced herself, fearing being dragged into things. Elena felt a deep disappointment, realizing how quickly loyalty melted under pressure. A few days later, Sarah found Elena at the cafe, offering a heartfelt apology. "I should have stood next to you," she admitted. "You stood there soaked in water and still walked with your head up. I hid behind whispers." Recognizing the sincerity, Elena replied, "Then don't just apologize. Stand next to me loudly." Their friendship, tested by pressure, was reinforced. Chief Vance, too, received a quiet message of support. An anonymous letter from the mother of Liam Morris, the boy he saved in 2009. "You did the right thing," it read. "This town needs you." Undeterred by the limited impact of his newsletter leak, Foster escalated his campaign. He called in a favor from an old friend at a regional news station. Soon, a segment titled Silent Decisions, questions surround Riverton's police chief, aired, featuring Foster's thinly veiled accusations. Chief Vance, however, remained steadfast. He gathered his officers, stating he would not apologize for choosing life over headlines. That afternoon, Elena spoke at the high school's Civic Voices Assembly. "My name is Elena Vance," she began. "I was humiliated in public by a man who thought power made him untouchable. He poured water on me because I didn't shrink for him. But silence isn't safety. It's just someone else's comfort." She concluded, "Dignity doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just refuses to drown." The auditorium erupted in applause. That night, Chief Vance watched the speech, his heart swelling with pride. Daniel Foster, watching the same clip, silently closed his laptop, realizing he had lost the moral ground. He received a call from Internal Affairs. They wanted to speak with him about his statements to the press. Chief Vance remained in his position, overwhelmingly supported by his department. Elena received an invitation to speak at a regional youth civic forum in Atlanta. She hadn't applied. They simply wanted her voice. Daniel Foster vanished from Riverton, leaving behind a letter with the mayor. "You're right. She wasn't the problem. I was. Tell her I didn't realize until too late that dignity can't be washed off." Badge enclosed. Justice was served not with handcuffs or headlines, but with a young woman standing taller than the man who tried to drown her dignity. A cop lost his power. A community found its voice. Elena, who just wanted to finish her shifts, discovered she was built for something far bigger than she ever imagined.